What is going on, everybody? We are back once again with another edition of Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast. It is Monday, September 23rd. My name is Clark Taylor. We're going to have some mail today. As you know, it's Mailbag Monday. We just got a letter in the words of the great Steve from Blue's Clues. I wonder who it's from. We've actually got a number of letters. I'm excited about it. Numero and Superfly already saying hello. What's going on? Friend of the show. I've got an esteemed cast with me today. Cast of characters hanging out. Ben banned four-man shows a while ago, but we might have one today because I'm not sure if we're only getting Carter Crisp or if we might be getting Cardi Carnett as well. But first and foremost, geographically as close to me as one can be on this show. Carter, how are you on this fine Monday?
I'm doing good. I would like to point out I have removed all distractions in favor of my hero,
His tribal chief,
Mr. Joe. I'm doing great. Me, Joe, we're ready. We're ready to get into the wrestling. We're ready to get into this mail. We have letters. I am as close to you as I possibly can be. I will not get any closer, sir. I cannot let you get close.
Can't let you get close. In the words of the great Chael Sonnen.
You can't let me get close, so I am going to stay by the airport. You stay down there, and we will talk wrestling.
You've got your tribal chief over your shoulder. I respect it. Love it. Samoa Joe in the building. We got Bobby Petito. He enjoyed the progress watch along. Thank you, Bobby, for tuning in as always. But I got to send this one all the way across the pond to Scotland for the host of the Soul Sessions, which totally gives it away, but it's Soul himself. What's going on, Soul?
Hey, buddy. Good as always. You know me. I know our head honcho, Mr. Allison's on his sabbatical. I'm on mine. Hence why no suit. I'm literally in my pajamas because, it's late. And I just feel like being lazy for this couple of weeks, taking time away, recharge the batteries, get back in the flow of things. But nonetheless, here as always, we're going to have a fun week. The boss may not be here, but the inmates are not even running the asylum. We're just, neatly putting things away and getting ready to put on a great show. So let's get on with it, boys.
Absolutely. The inmates might be running the asylum, but it's pretty tame this week coming from us. I'm excited to get into it. We do have mail. First and foremost, this one is submitted by Melissa Robinson 05, who has turned out to be a heck of a wrestling fan. Did not really expect that, but are fans too harsh on Austin Theory? I'm going to go first on this one because the answer to me is no, they're not harsh enough. I've been sick of Austin Theory since the Way stuff. I don't get it. He's a generic guy in generic trunks. He looks really good. His moveset is really good. I don't see it yet. And he's been put in these positions where I feel like he's not ready, and it's unfair to him because now we all see him as that. But for right this second, man, I need more. Given all the hype that's been around him for all this time, give me more of something. Give me some substance. Give me some backstory. Give me a reason why you are the way you are. I don't understand it. He's either cocky or he's funny, and it goes back and forth. And the whole thing is just like, it feels like one person thought he was going to be big time. And I truly don't get it. I'm going to start with you, Soul, on this one. Do you think we're being too harsh on Austin Theory, or are you with me? Not hard enough.
Theory's a really weird one. From my perspective, I didn't really care about Theory when he was in NXT with The Way. I really wasn't really fussed about it, really cared to learn about him. But when he came up to the main roster and had his first edition of that A-Town Down theme, I really liked the theme. It was probably one of my favorites on the main roster at the time. Yes, him winning the Money in the Bank, I think, was very interesting because obviously at the time it was Roman Reigns, and it was sort of like, well, nobody's really going to cash in on Roman Reigns. Are they going to do something with something there? So he was put in a tough position already with the Money in the Bank. Had a notable cash-in attempt at Clash of the Castle against Drew, knocked out by Tyson Fury. Then ended up cashing in on a US title and losing. changing the whole principles of the Money Bank briefcase. He won the Money Bank. He won the United States title. Went to Cena at Mania, which was probably one of the worst matches on that whole Mania 2-part for a lot of people, I would think. Went with Austin Theory for A-Town Down Under. They won the SmackDown Tag Team titles, introduced the WWE championships, defended them once against the Street Profits, I believe, before dropping them to DIY. I don't think fans are being hard. I think fans are focusing their harshness in the wrong direction. I don't think it's Austin Theory's fault. I think it's the booking's fault. That, from era to put him in the Money in the Bank situation when Roman Reigns was the top dog. Honestly, you should have just scrapped Money in the Bank that year because it was pointless. The booking with Cena is that you took somebody who at the time I think was 20 in his 26, maybe 26, 25, and you put him against somebody who's had over 20 years experience of Cena. Yes, could have been in an elevating spot, but what we've seen was that Cena absolutely obliterated them and really soured him in fans' eyes. And A-Town Down Under, they won the SmackDown Tag Team Championships in probably one of my favorite matches at Mania 40 with the ladder match with the tag teams. But their reign was, pitiful because they only defended it once. And people are now, when are they going to break up? When are they going to break up? And it's still not happening. So I don't think it's Austin Theory's fault. I think it's the booking's fault.
Not even to cut you off, but think about this. We were at 39. It opened the show, him and John Cena, and he won the match. But all we remember is Cena eviscerating him on the microphone before.
Yeah.
That's the biggest takeaway from that. And part of that is the booking, to your point.
The thing is, as well, like, he has been very, prominent from the company. Like, Clash of the Castle Scotland this year, meet and greets that I remember seeing were Jade and Bianca, Piper Niven, AJ Styles, and Austin Theory. Like, Austin Theory was one of the meet and greets you could get at one of the toy stores around Glasgow at that point. And a lot of people came out to turn to see him. So he has a fan base. I think as well, a lot of people are just wondering, because they've been teasing it for the longest time, when's A-Town Down Under going to split up? Because they've been teasing that. But we've never got any real progression with that. They've not really had a time to shine on pay-per-views. They've always just been there as an addition to the tag team championship. And another thing as well, I mentioned I really liked Austin Theory's previous theme. I don't like the new one with the male singer, and it's just a lot slower and not really impactful for me. It's a shame, but I truly like if Austin Theory was to go as a single star, maybe even as a heel or attempt to face, I wouldn't hate it. I truly just think this is a booking problem, and it's not his fault because he has accolades under his career. Youngest US champion, youngest Money in the Bank, youngest Elimination Chamber winner. You absolutely do have the accolades, and that's something to be proud of. But then the booking needs to support you in showcasing that you kind of deserve to have those accolades.
Totally. Okay, we've got a couple comments here I want to run through really quickly. But I definitely hear where you're coming from, especially when you're talking about the booking. I think that is a major factor. And we have Bobby Petito here with give me Austin Theory from Evolve Wrestling. I was a fan of Austin Theory in Evolve. Yeah, in Evolve, he was excellent. I would agree. Even in other limited appearances I saw before that, you saw more potential than we've seen in WWE. And Josh Markowitz even added the guy beat John Cena at Mania, and he's not over. I don't know who to blame, but something should have changed a while back. It's not working for him right now, and I know he's got the talent in him. That's a very good point. So we've talked a lot about the why and all of that. I feel like the question's kind of been answered. Feel free to address it yourself, Carter. But I got to ask you, do you see a solution to this when it comes to the Austin Theory problem here in any way?
I'm lower on Austin Theory than all you guys. I think anyone in the modern era, we can't say fans are too hard on them because we have nice fans now compared to the CZW and Delaware fans. These fans are great, but for me personally, I only know him in WWE, and I see him as a total WWE guy. And I like Grayson Waller. I think he's hilarious. I love his show. I think Theory has been a beneficiary of Grayson Waller's just hilarious Australian personality. Theory, I mean, I don't know. I don't, as a guy who I like shooters, I like real graps, I like Daniel Bryan, Kurt Angle, my man right here. I don't see a lot out of Austin Theory. I see kind of a pure WWE mid-card heel. And like that's valuable for a wrestling promotion, very valuable. You need your mid carders. Like let's not, this is wrestling. You got to fill up the card. But I mean, in terms of like getting a lot out of them, I don't know. Like it's like, yeah, Tyson Fury did save us from a Austin Theory title run, but like, was that really viable? Was that really in the cards? I think he's a victim of being Vince's favorite really early at a time when the company was transitioning, and now it's kind of like you latched your horse to a fat jockey, and now you got to carry this guy across the finish line. You're not sure if you can. So I think he's got to get away from all this, and I don't know. I think he needs better booking. Needs a change. Maybe he should join like the Wyatt family or something. Some weird, the Latino World Order, maybe. I don't know.
I mean, the Wyatt family doesn't bug me. It cracks me up. I'm thinking about some of the other random stuff. We didn't mention the egg. I mean, the egg, what were we doing there? Come on.
I
That was
forgot
as
about
kiddie
that.
as it gets, and that didn't help. And that goes back to Soul's point about the booking has just been terrible. And then you look at when he had his real shot, was right during the pandemic. He was in that Monday Night Messiah stable with Buddy Murphy alongside Rollins. That could have been a big deal, and it didn't even work out, right? Like, you think about how many swings they've had and how many misses they've had. The fact that we look back at The Way as arguably his best work is kind of scary. He was a character actor in that play, right? At the end of the day. And so I don't know. This is one that I really do appreciate the question, and I'm not even trying to bury it in the least. But I think the answer is no, we're not being too harsh on Austin Theory. Let's definitely move on to our next question, though, of this afternoon, which was submitted by a good friend of the show, Bobby Batito. What's going on, Bobby? Thank you for your question. What are our predicted match card or matches for the card at AEW Wrestle Dream? This is interesting. Soul, you are an AEW expert, so I'm going to let you ride out of the gates here. Do you have anything at the top of your head?
Well, I'm actually going to use a little of a guideline because Trailer TV is how I watch AEW pay-per-views here in the UK, internationally, and they do their little posters and teasers for pay-per-view events. And the one they released for Wrestle Dream features Brian, Monet, Osprey, Mariah, and Mox. So going off those 5 names, you would think obviously who your advertising will be on the card. So to go for Osprey, obviously we've got Ricochet and him going up against each other for the International Championship. Maybe a rematch of that, but I think maybe something else they might do is I think something to do a storyline with as well and develop. I think in my mind I would do a Continental Classic qualifier match between Osprey and Takeshita. That's what I would do to allow Takeshita to get that win, that revenge from Osprey's first full-time match in AEW at Revolution this year, to show that now Takeshita is ready to step up and I hope dethrone Okada for the Continental Classic Championship. For Mariah, it's a hard one, but I think it should be Mariah May versus Hikaru Shida. I think that would be an interesting one because obviously he's going against Yuka Sakazaki at Grand Slam. Maybe have it be that Shida comes out to defend her fellow Joshi wrestler and we get something out of that because obviously Shida has gone against the TBS champion. For Monet, who has the TBS belt, I would generally do Monet and Baker too. A lot of people didn't like the all-in match, and I think both women are great wrestlers, so why not let them go again? And if they can prove it and show it to the fans that they can, essentially go with it and prove it in the ring, then I'm absolutely fine with that. So obviously the last 2 people on the poster is Mox and Danielson. And Mox and Danielson are the hardest ones for me to put in a position because Wrestle Dream is in Brian's home state, I believe. I believe it's in his home state, not his hometown, or if it's his home state. And I think it will be his final full-time match. And the things that I am in 2 spots of is, does Mox or Darby win the number one contendership at Grand Slam. Because if it's Darby, then you do Bryan and Darby gets put over by the legend Bryan Danielson, and he becomes the new AEW World Champion. You could even have the Christian Cage cash in at that point, or Luchasaurus costs him, and then you do 2 bits of story. You never know there. But then Mox, it was a way to cement Mox's new stable of the Blackpool Combat Club. But then again, Mox has held the AEW World Championship 3 times. I think some people might be a bit annoyed and sick if he wins it for a 4th, relatively close within a span of a year of last holding the title. I think it's literally less than a year because he won it. Yeah, I think it's been a year. I think, don't quote me on that. I think maybe a year or 2, maybe something like that. God, it's hard. Really hard for me to pick. But I think the other ones I mentioned, I'm pretty solid on. It's just Bryan and Mox's positions because I feel like it could be so flippy floppy. I'll wrap up as well. Like there could be so many others with the tags and all that as well. So if you want me to tag one, I would do the Young Bucks versus the Outrunners and let the Outrunners win it because they're becoming so very, very popular. Like you'll love the
I
Outrunners.
like that a lot.
Do that. Trios championships, I would do Pac. So obviously Blackpool Combat Club, which is Pac, Claudio, and Yuta. I would, if it was possible, like this is literally only if it's possible, I would do Jay White and the Guns again. Bang Bang Gang, have that kind of matchup. Jay White coming back healthy, really cementing, wanting to reestablish themselves as the true, Bang Bang Gang against the Combat Club sort of thing. Guns versus fists sort of thing. FTW Championship, I honestly hope that's retired at Grand Slam when Hook wins it in New York. Like he retains it in New York, he retires it so he can maybe go after a recognized championship in AEW. International, I think I would like Ricochet to win it just so he can go on a dominant run. And if so, I would do Ricochet versus Kyle Fletcher. And final one I'll wrap on is I would like to see Samoa Joe back to do something at Wrestle Dream. I think it would be very fun if he's able to, if he's finished with Twisted Metal 2 and obviously recording for the Yakuza game. So yeah, I'd like to see Samoa Joe back in any form. If he can maybe even squash, or you know what? Give me Samoa Joe and Hangman Page, and let's Swerve come back in. Let Swerve come back in.
So before we fully wrap up this topic, though, so we've got a few comments, and I want to run through them because honestly, you broke that down perfectly with the whole mid card, and I was gonna maybe add a pick, but you kind of covered the ones that I was gonna add anyway, so it's ideal. Bobby Petito asked, he's thinking Bryan Danielson versus Darby Allin for the AEW Championship and Mariah May versus Shirakawa for the AEW Women's World Championship. Maybe Jack Perry Open Challenge. The first two, though, I don't see necessarily Bobby as mid-card. Do you? Right? I mean, so what are your thoughts on that?
The one I would definitely want to point out there is the Mina Shinakaro one.
Yes.
I think it's very, very interesting, and they could pull that. Why I personally wouldn't is because you've got Grand Slam Australia next February, and obviously before that it will be Revolution. I think you should do Mina Shirakawa as close to that to then wrap up and go back to Toni Storm, so it's that connective tissue. If you do it too soon, it's going to add a lot of people probably ask questions and all that, and especially if Mina Shirakawa obviously got Wrestle Dynasty, which is going to feature Stardom in Tokyo as well, which AEW, Ring of Honor, and New Japan talent as well. Maybe even do it at that, so you could let the homegrown Stardom talent get a showcase on that. I'm sure we'll do something for Wrestle Dynasty, a big speculation in the future, but obviously this is just going on the top of my head. I would keep Mina Shirakawa and Mariah May as close as possible to the Toni Storm rematch at Australia.
Perfect. So we've got two more quick ones. Bobby Petito added, and Mercedes Moné versus Chris Statlander or Willow Nightingale rematch for the TBS Championship. I don't think any of us have a problem with those ideas there. No, right? And then this one is one match I'd like to see at Wrestle Dream from number 1 Superfly is Will Ospreay versus Zack Sabre Jr., Konosuke Takeshita versus Kazuchika Okada, and Bryan Danielson versus Samoa Joe. Just some matches I would like to see. Don't hate any of those.
So I don't think Bryan and Joe will happen, obviously, because it will be Bryan's last full-time match, and you want to do that very, very special. Takeshita and Okada will be World's End Continental Final, I believe, or whenever they did the Continental Final last year. I think they did it Was it at World? It was at World's End. So I think it will be at World's End. We'll get Okada versus Takeshita for the Continental Championship. Sabre and Ospreay is a very interesting one. And it will happen next year at either one of these events. It's going to happen at Wrestle Dynasty or it's going to happen at Forbidden Door because Sabre is probably going to win the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. You want that championship and that champion to be strong. And I have no doubt in my mind that to go against someone like Ospreay, who's of a high caliber talent, like we've seen Ospreay lose to Swerve at Forbidden Door this year and nobody thought he was going to lose. I think Ospreay and Sabre will put on an exceptional match. Do it at Wrestle Dynasty. I'm sure Ospreay will be happy to put him over and then let Sabre continue as IWGP Heavyweight Champion in a strong start. And then if I was able to do it, Forbidden Door, I would do Zack Sabre Jr. versus Nigel McGuinness for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship.
Definitely like all of those picks myself. Speaking of picks that I like, let's talk about one here. We've got Next Level. If you haven't already checked it out, if you haven't been watching the show, head over to nxconnect.me/Wrestling Republic to see all our content across all platforms, linked all in one place. You're going to love it. Check it out. Thank you so much. But we've got another question here to get into. This one submitted by another friend of the show, Jose99. And that is Giovanni Vinci possibly doing the Kurt Hawkins storyline from 2018 to 19? And we've got a special guest here today to talk about this topic. Not Carter Crisp, but his cousin, Cardi Carnett. What are your thoughts?
Not this
I
guy.
mean, y'all might as well. I'm going to call the local waste management company because y'all bring me in when you need me to tell you when garbage looks like garbage. This is trash, Clark. This is taking a reasonable mid Carter and they're just burying him and burying. Of course, it's the same thing as Kurt Hawkins, but it's a dang old waste of time in the Triple H era of all eras of all. This is ridiculous. I mean, you have a reasonable talent. You're just burying him and burying him and they're gonna bury him all the way until he's at the rec center in Reseda. By God. I don't know what's going on here. It's like Tony's booking this thing or something.
Man, those are some strong words from you there about this topic, Mr. Carnett. And I've got to admit, I'm kind of in the same boat. We have vignettes for this man's return. He's ready to rock and roll. He's ready to go. And all of a sudden, it's just loss after loss after loss. Is there any scenario where the crowd gets behind him just because maybe he becomes a sympathetic figure? But does that really benefit him? I guess that's my question for you.
Clark, this is nothing. In the wrestling business, we like to get in, get out, get paid, and get ready for next week. We're not getting ready for nothing here. This is nothing but burying a solid talent to send him off to the NWAs, the TNA. Saul, pay attention to me. This is important now.
I'd rather not. You're bleeding my ears, buddy. I'm watching the scroll on eBay.
They're burying him before they send him to Uncle Tony to put him in the middle of the card to waste all his time so he could get squashed over there too. I mean, my God, Clark, what is this? I thought the business was at a great place, and then we see things like this happening at the big company. This looks like an outlaw mud show.
I didn't realize we had Disco Carter on the show. Come on now.
I love it. No, we've got Carnett.
Let me
Mr.
tell you,
Carnett,
Disco, you need to listen to Mr. Inferno. So he has many things to say and many old knowledges about the inner workings of the business. So we don't have this indie-rific style rec center booking.
That man couldn't work his way out of a jigsaw puzzle.
I gotta say, I mean, Imperium is a heck of a tag team. I personally believe that this makes no sense. I would have loved to have him continue to tag with Kaiser, build that tag team division over on Raw. I do not understand the breakup in the first place. Don't understand the singles direction here. The Kurt Hawkins thing, I didn't like that. To be honest, I like Kurt Hawkins. I didn't like that.
No,
so it's like Brian Myers now, right? I guess it's just, to me, it's unfair to everybody involved. And it doesn't even once the losing streak starts going, it doesn't actually benefit the people he's putting over because we know he's going to lose.
Like, is Apollo Crews going to be elevated by winning these matches? No. Are they going to be on a pay-per-view? No. Are they going to be on a kickoff show? No. This doesn't benefit anybody but except filling airtime.
It's just frustrating, to say the least. Let's move on to our last segment of the evening, though. I mean, it's slightly less frustrating, but I'm not going to lie. It is Monday Night Raw, so sometimes it's a bit frustrating. We've got advertised matches, Sami Zayn and Ludwig Kaiser. We've got Drew McIntyre's return ahead of his Hell in a Cell match, so he's going to say something. And then other match advertised, Braun Breaker, Jey Uso, Intercontinental title. I'm going to go first here for a second. I don't think there's any chance Jey wins this title, and that doesn't make any sense to me. He's been as built up as anybody there is. And then he just got leapfrogged by the unstoppable force. And he's not exactly the immovable object. So he's going to get cut in half with one of those Braun Breaker spears, whether it's once, twice, or 3 times, and put away. And I don't get it. Because we've built Jey for so long. I really am excited for the Ludwig match. That's going to be fun. That one, the way things have kind of gone for Ludwig, Sami Zayn, the tide of maybe how this affects Gunther, I don't have an issue with it. I want Sami Zayn delivers basically every time he's out there. 100%. Drew, I'm excited about as well. I'm going to start with Carter and then go to you, Soul, because I really want to specifically go to you about Drew. But Carter, your thoughts on the Ludwig and Sami match, as well as that Intercontinental title main event.
Like, are these the only advertised matches too? Or
as far as I know, there may have been more since I looked it up a couple hours before showtime.
Not to be a Tony guy, but this isn't a lot of wrestling for. Is it down to 2 hours now? Isn't a lot of wrestling for 2-3 hours. I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying that's not a lot of matches for multiple hours. I think the Kaiser Zayn, I mean, imagine that match at WXW, PWG, Rev Pro, NXT. That's a great match. That's a really good match. That's a rock solid. And Braun Breaker, I would watch Braun Breaker tackle this water bottle. I will. He's a Steiner. They need to change his last name to Steiner right away. He's the new generation of Scott and Rick Steiner. He's going to double leg you, and you can't do nothing about it. You could sprawl all you want. You're still going to be on your back. And these are 2 really good matches. Drew McIntyre, too. I think he should be a non-COVID WWE champion whenever. I think he should also change his last name to Galloway. But we're not considering copyrights or the law with these suggestions. So Triple H just consider that as well. But no, I think these are the 2 matches you named are fantastic. I'd love to see them like in any promotion. But I mean, in terms of a Braun squash, I would pay to see Braun squash me. Like from my first person perspective in Apple VR golf, I want to see him smash myself. I would pay $25 for that. So I'm okay with a Braun squash. I'm okay if it lasts 15 seconds. Like, I don't care. It's Braun Steiner. I want to see him crush another human being. And whether that's Jey Uso, The Rock, I don't care. I want to see him smash somebody. So this is going to be 6 stars. Even if it's 20 seconds, I'm going to give it 6 stars, even outside of the Tokyo Dome. So my take on Raw, this is a pretty good lineup, but I could go for some more matches.
It is interesting because you brought up a great point there about how few are booked, and this seems to happen on Raw, but we are going to see quite a bit of wrestling tonight. I think it's funny. I don't know if that will change when it comes to the Netflix era.
I'll say a quick thing on this, if I can. Just
go right ahead. I was going to toss it to you next, but go ahead.
No worries, man. I think I have a problem when Collision does this and they really don't announce matches. But I think what the difference is between Collision and Raw doing this is that Raw is pretty much nearly sold out, and they have the liberty to do this. You know, they know people are going to turn up either way, no matter what they announce. But for me personally, I hard. I rarely tune into a Raw or SmackDown. I never tune into it live, just simply because I don't want to buy another service to watch it. I don't want to stay up when I have work or something like that. But I'll happily watch it the day after. But like for me, just seeing this, I'm not excited to like actively want to watch it tomorrow. And that's just for me. But somebody else, they might be like, yeah, I want to watch that immediately because it's WWE programming, or they're just really excited to see something that might happen on the card. It is an interesting factor, and I think it's more interesting though, how will this work obviously when WWE go to the Netflix era? Will Netflix maybe have a more advertisable matches, when they put it on, like looking at my TV, Netflix, they have their banners and stuff like that. Will they want something like, WWE logo on the left and then match to advertise it for people who are just scrolling through and binge and watching, and they can catch it? I think WWE will need to do maybe more on the advertising of matches part when they go into this network era to get the bingeable fans and people that want to catch it while they're flicking. But they are full in their right to obviously do this sort of thing now, because they are still selling out buildings. They are getting people to come out no matter what they advertise. So they have that liberty.
You brought up a really interesting point. And when it comes to this Netflix thing, this is where I'm most fascinated. You talked about watching it the next day, right? As of right this second in the US, to watch it the next day, you got to have cable and record it, because you're not going to get it on Peacock until about a month later, right? And you're not going to get it on, whatever until a month later. I'm wondering if on Netflix, you can watch it live and then the very next day, you can watch it too. If it's in the library, that is going to be fascinating to find out, because I don't know the answer. But if you can just watch it the next day and you can read a little summary of what, they're not going to give away spoilers in the summary, but these are the matches that happened. You can advertise more matches after the fact. And I'm wondering if they get more back end viewership when it comes to the streaming service than you would on cable in the first place. And that kind of solves the problem that we're talking about in a roundabout way. Not that, like, because what you said, like, is an issue for the casual viewer. Like, who am I going to see?
Yeah.
Right. And familiarity is a very easy way to watch a show, right? You see one of your favorite actresses or actors on a show, you're going to check it out, even if it may not be your genre in general that you would normally watch. So that is going to be an interesting one. Chris Phillips here, good friend with I love Carter Chris Base takes. Gotta love that. Thank you, Chris.
Something I want to quickly propose, obviously, because for me in the UK, like, we're getting the whole network on Netflix, right? We're getting everything that we can is on Netflix. But I want to know for you guys, obviously, Carter and Clark, you guys are in the States. You will have to have, if I'm correct, cable for SmackDown, which will be on USA, and CW cable. Is CW cable as well, or is that like a Freeview?
CW is cable, but there is, so it's interesting. There are ways with like YouTube TV, and there are those I would call them like crossover streaming cable services, like Hulu TV, Sling is another one. Companies like that where you can get those networks. But you'll definitively have to have Peacock for the PLEs and Netflix for Raw. If you're gonna watch Raw, you got to have Netflix.
So my main question to you guys then is, if WWE do less and less match announcements, and it's more just watch the show as it tuned in, and you guys have to do so much to cover the whole WWE thing, Netflix, Peacock, CW, cable for SmackDown, will you guys feel a bit less interested to tune in for the product if you have to cover so many cable services and streaming services and you're not getting really much announced?
I'll go first. I'm like a bad one to ask, because I've already got Netflix. I'm already on Peacock, and logically I use them for, I watch the NFL on Peacock when it's there. If it had gone to Prime Video, I've got Prime Video too. So it's like, and then Netflix, it's Netflix wouldn't have been my first choice personally, because I actually probably use it the least of the streaming services that I do use. But cable wise, I've got cable at home still. So it's one of those, for me, it doesn't affect me as much. If I do cut the cord, it'll be interesting, because that'll make things different. would be my answer to that for sure. Like if I did make that decision to be like, I'm not doing cable anymore, then I've got to find a way to watch. But I also think it's weird with USA being the one that picked up not Fox. It's almost less of an issue. USA is almost easier to find at this stage than Fox is. So that's another factor. Like USA was already easy with Raw, and it kind of just flipped. And so that's funny to me. I don't know, Carter, what are your thoughts on that when it comes to the cable situation?
I've cut the cord already. Clark, you should cut it.
Yes,
Your
I
dad,
agree.
Mr. Taylor, if you're listening to this, I know you don't want to cut it. You should cut it. No, I am post cutting the cord, but I have access to everything. I have YouTube TV. I pay for my own Hulu, and then my parents have cable. So if I need to log into cable, we can go online. So the only new thing I'm going to need is Netflix, and I have Peak. What else do we use Peacock for? Is it IMSA or?
Well, the Olympics was great.
Oh yeah,
they've got all kinds of racing, and then I mean, honestly, I think they've got as many bingeable TV shows, like you're talking about, like The Office, Modern Family, all of those,
Twisted
as any
Metal.
of those platforms when it comes to the US.
Yeah, I just got Paramount because I started following the EFL because the Premier League was too good. So I decided I need.
Well, I mean, Thursday Night Football is Prime Video too, which is interesting.
We all have Prime because we all have Amazon. So even if you don't have Netflix, your girlfriend's aunt does, and you can steal her account.
Well, you can't do that anymore. They did change that now.
I don't use Netflix. So again,
you actually have to pay extra for people that use the same account. So
I'm going to find this out in December.
They solved it.
I think I used my girlfriend's Netflix too.
I used my sister's for years. It's the end of
Netflix is a very. I'm not advocating for this, but you can share the accounts. No one from Netflix corporate would like for me to say this, but as far as I know, for a fee, you can share the accounts. So even though we're not on it now, we'll find a friend. We'll be in need, and they will help us out.
You think wrestling fans have friends? Oh, damn, they're going to be struggling for that, mate.
I've got 2 to 3 friends at least.
Okay, wait. So before we do go, I did want to ask you about what do you think McIntyre is going to say tonight, going into the Hell in a Cell? I mean, obviously this is the big payoff.
I don't care about Punk and McIntyre anymore.
Okay.
Like, here's the thing about it, right? It all stems back from the Rumble. So this has been going on since technically January, right? Goes on, McIntyre injures Punk. Punk comes out, still is a vocal part of the show. McIntyre does the very iconic, I prayed for this and this happened. He gets screwed out of the title by Punk. Priest cashes in. McIntyre continues to do tirades. I think that's when he gets the bracelet. I think it's then. Or was it? It's weird. But then the whole I still don't like Money in the Bank. I still think Money in the Bank is it's up there, one of the worst shows on WWE side for me personally. Some people may love it, but for me, it's not my cup of tea. But the fact is that I still think Punk and McIntyre is a good feud. Don't get me wrong there. When we do our WR end of year review, end of year awards, if we do one for feuds, it's going to be in the top 3. No doubt in my mind, it's going to be in the top 3. But as an AEW watcher, when I see Swerve and Hangman, eviscerating each other on the mic, actively trying to cost people championships and other opportunities, being presence on the show, burning down houses, hitting people with syringes, cinder blocks, chairs, and then I look at Punk and Drew, and it's tapping lights and all about a $2 bracelet. Punk and McIntyre doesn't have the I could see Punk and McIntyre teaming up in the future when all resorts come down to be friends again and go for a common cause. I could never see Swerve and Hangman being on the same page.
I think that's a fair comparison.
Those two will hate each other. Look, people will say you can't compare them, but I genuinely think you can.
No, I think that's a fair comparison. That's what I was saying. Like, I actually do.
They are genuinely about the hatred for one another, but I feel like Hangman and Swerve just took it to another level. and he involved the families. Like Swerve saying he camped out and saw Hangman take his pregnant wife to the hospital.
Yeah.
Drew has just said, I have a bracelet with your name on it. It's not like I physically hurt them or eyed them or kept an eye on them. And yes, it's a Hell in a Cell, but I don't like with how long this feud's gone on. I don't think it qualifies that, because that's pretty much what Punk and Drew have done this entire year.
Yeah.
You look at Swerve and Hangman. Yes, they started out with it at Revolution, but then Hangman went away. Swerve won the championship. He did stuff as champion. Hangman came back as like a secret ploy weapon of the Elite, a changed man. Punk's just been Punk. Like, he's still been cocky, still says this, I'm CM Punk, I'm in so place, cheer for me. But Hangman came back and was like, yeah, I don't care what any of you think. I'm not like the Elite want me in there. I'm not doing it for you. I'm there to get Swerve. Like, throughout the whole Blood and Guts match, just so he could kick Swerve, right? And the fact they had that break benefited them. And I really hope this isn't the case, but I would like Hangman and Swerve to stay away from each other for like a year.
Yeah,
Give us
no, I
that
don't think they should touch again. But I mean, the when it comes to Punk and Drew, they are going to wrestle at Hell in a Cell 100%. But I do hear where you're coming from. Absolutely. Okay, before we go, this cracked me up. Matt Williams, what's up, dude? He uses my sister's Netflix too. Respect. I love that. That's hysterical.
Give me that
Thank you for tuning in. As always, you're the man. But that does bring us to the end of the show. Happy Monday, everybody. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. Noon Pacific, 3 in the East Coast, 8 o'clock UK. That's 9 a.m. Hawaii. On behalf of me, Clark Taylor, Soul, Carter, and Cardi Carnett, thank you, everyone. Have an excellent Monday. We'll talk to you soon.